it's funny because all the things that I feel like I had to do when I was broke are now things that I choose to do now that I have money. And I want to explain to you the neuroscience behind why being broke and why, being in poverty is it just like is so draining and how to feel like you have choice when your options are very limited. So people talk about how money gives you options. It absolutely does. You know what I mean? Now I have the option, like I don't just have the option of like either shopping at Target or Goodwill or Plato's Closet. Like those were my options when I was shopping for clothes or like a clothing swap. That was it. That was like all I could get clothing from. Now that I have money, obviously the options are bigger. Like I bought this from Athleta. Like I always like shopping at those like nicer athletic brands. And I bought things from whatever, it doesn't matter. Just stores that have a higher price tag. The problem is like when we are broke or when we're poor is we feel like we don't have options. And our options are limited when our income is lower. But if we are able to understand better what our current options are when we are broke, we are more likely to feel like we have agency and like we're not totally. This is bugging me. Look at this. Actually, I took the coffee. It's like hanging off the edge. Did that not drive anybody else nuts? So here's, and I'll explain the neuroscience behind it, and then I'll explain like the practicality of how to do it. The neuroscience behind it is that you have two parts of your brain. You have your amygdala and your prefrontal cortex. And the amygdala is the fear center of the brain. It's the scarcity mind, essentially. It's the part of your brain that asks the question, is this going to kill me? Right? Like it's very much like I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to keep you safe. If we go into a situation, like we're picking out clothes or whatever, and we feel like this is the only option I have, then we're going to feel limited. We're going to feel restricted. We're not going to feel creative. We're going to feel like, our circumstances are working against us. But if you can start to name the actual options that you have, because you usually have at least 4 to 5 options, even if they're shitty options, they're still options. What it does is it gets your prefrontal cortex to get online, which is the thinking part of your brain. It's in charge of emotional regulation, impulse control, planning for the future, and complex decision making. All the things we need to get out of poverty, by the way, in case you were wondering. As somebody who lived off of $10 an hour, I know this to be very true. It helps generate dopamine in the brain, and it allows you to be more creative about your circumstances. So let me give you an example. For 2 years, when I first lived in Colorado, I didn't have a car. Okay, like you kind of need a car in Colorado. I lived in Boulder. Luckily, the bus system there is actually very decent. So I was able to take the bus for 2 years. But I obviously felt very limited by that circumstance. And so, like, if I was to go back to my past self and I felt limited by, like, I have to take the bus to work, I could then start to name, like, how many different bus routes can I take to work? And, like, I can also walk to work. I can also bike to work. I can, right? Like, if I could name my options, then you're like, oh, actually, I do have options. Maybe I don't like these options, but then it just starts to open something different in your brain. Like, for example, let's say you're grocery shopping, because grocery shopping used to be the bane of my existence because I only had $50 a week to spend. But every week, let's say I had to go buy rice. Was on the list. I can buy jasmine rice. I can buy basmati rice. I can buy long grain rice. I can buy brown rice. Like there's so many options of what kind of rice I could buy. And just naming your options does something to your brain. It does something different. It makes you feel like there are possibilities that are opening up. It makes you see choices. And then what starts to happen is slowly you start to see something I like to call a bridge choice. It's a choice that gets you from where you are right now to where you want to be. It's a small little leap. Like when I bought my first car, that was a leap for me. That was a bridge choice of like, okay, I am going to make this decision. I'm going to get something that helps me get ahead. And so if you're somebody who's like really struggling financially right now, just like as much as you possibly can, just observe what your actual options are. Even if they're shitty, options are still options. Because when you do get more money and you do have more options, like you will feel so much more abundant when you have those options, because if you bring that limited mindset with you at the increased income, you'll still feel limited even with more money.